Okay, there we go. I got it now. Logged out and logged back in.
Okie doke. I'm gonna share my screen so you
There you
guys can
go.
see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You guys are going to take the practicum next spring, and it is a big deal. You have to do the PPAP. It's a professional teacher work sample assessment. And we talked about it when you very first started the program. Remember we talked about the $300 test that you have to do? Well, that's coming up. We had a group go through last spring, and Dr. Riegler, who's the assistant dean, did some help sessions for the folks. And the people that attended the help sessions did pretty well. They passed. The people that did not attend the help sessions did not pass. So I'm going to, because his help sessions don't start until January, and because it's so involved, I'm going to start doing help sessions early so you can start working on it ahead of time. The folks that did well on it, that passed with a decent score, said they spent 8 to 10 hours a week on this assessment. So you start on it in January and it finishes in April. So if we can get some of that stuff done and out of the way ahead of time, I think it will be to your advantage, because if you don't pass it, your license ends in September or June, July sometime. There's no second chances. So because you have to have this assessment, it's a state licensing test, and it is your graduation comprehensive evaluation test. So it's a big deal. So I want you to be well prepared. So can you see the 4 dates down there where I've got written? I expect that you're all going to attend those 4 dates. I can't require you to, but I expect that you'll be there because it's that important. Okay. It's not a hard test to do. It is doing lesson plans and doing baseline assessments with kids that you do any day, anyway. The things that you're going to do for this assessment is the stuff that you're doing every day during teaching. It's just writing it up and getting it done on time. Okay, and I am here to help you through every step of it. Okay. So by starting early, we can make next semester a whole lot easier for you, where you can take a breath and focus on some other things. Okay. So I plan on seeing all of you at 5 o'clock on Tuesday, October the 5th. That's the first one. And we'll start on task 1. And we can't finish it because you'll have to be doing it with the actual students, but we can at least get you a good start on it so that you know what you're doing. So you can work on it during your spare time, as if you have spare time, teaching full time and taking classes. But, if you have a minute here or there, you can work on a little bit so that it just doesn't hit you all at once. Because that was what several of the people that didn't pass last semester said. It was too much and I didn't have enough time to do it. And so I just didn't do it. And that's not an option at this point. Okay. So
Oh, I was just gonna say, when you say they didn't have enough time, is it a timed test or something, or?
No, it's not timed. It's you have to write lesson plans, and then you have to rationalize why you did your lesson plans in a certain way. There's all these steps. There's 4 tasks you have to do, and there's several steps in each task, and you have to write to each one of those steps. So by the time you finish task 1, you've probably written 8 to 10 pages of stuff that you have to do. And it just takes time to answer all the questions that they have in there. So getting all that done. And then for the 4th task, you have to do a 15-minute video and figuring out how to make sure that that's converted to the right format they want it in. So we can go through some practices so that you know what you're doing, so that it just makes it easier next semester when you get ready to do it.
So
Now,
go ahead.
everything that we do for that has to be done. It has to be next semester's work. It can't be something we've done this semester.
Correct. But
Okay.
knowing what you're going to have to do will make it a whole lot easier to, like some of it, like the task 1 is called the context. It's the setting, it's where you're teaching. You could almost get that all done because you're talking about the students that you work with. You're talking about your caseload, you're talking about your community, factors that impact your teaching. That part you could probably get done this semester and get it out of the way. You can't upload it because they're going to, Fortes is going to give you a voucher. When you sign up to take 839, the practicum class, you're going to pay tuition and $300 to get into the class. Then they will give you a voucher, I don't know, maybe a week or two after school starts or after the semester starts. And then you'll use that voucher number to go in and do the assessment. But they have very strict guidelines. Like if you miss a date on those assessments, you can pay $75 for a 24-hour late submission time. I mean, they've got you coming and going on the finance part. So I want to make sure that you're ready so that you can upload early instead of late, okay? So it's stuff that you're doing every day. You know, it's the lesson plan that you did like in 804 with, didn't you do your lesson plan with Dr. Moore last? You have to do some of those kind of lesson plans that are really, really detailed. So it's all stuff you've done, but it's doing it and answering the questions that they want and telling why. So I want you to have time to think about it. And you can plan ahead, okay?
Is there anything that we need to do prior to the help sessions?
Nope, not a thing. Not a thing. And I will show you some of the forms during the help session so that you can start, you know, you can, because you download them as Word documents so that you can go in and you can start penciling in notes or rough outlines. So then all you have to do is do final pretty copies of some of it, you know, because you plan your lessons a little bit ahead of time. Right? Okay, so I'll see you guys then. I don't want to take up too much of Dr. Posey's time for tonight, but it's nice to see you guys. I miss you.
Thank
I'm
you, Dr.
looking forward
Brooks.
to this.
Appreciate it.
Dr. Brooks,
Good night.
thank you for joining us and sharing that information. I appreciate it.
Well, and I can, if you want me to, I can send it to you as an email that you can post as an announcement in your class. or
Definitely, if you will do that. And then also I will provide some courtesy reminders as we approach those dates, just to kind of
Okay.
refresh your memory. But yes, definitely, if you'll do that and show that Zoom link, and I'll have it right there in our announcement section and provide that to them again just before that date as a reminder. So definitely.
Okay, see you
All
guys
right.
then.
All right.
Thank
Thank you. Have a good evening, Dr. Brooks.
Bye-bye.
Thank
See
you.
Bye-bye. Okay, thank you guys for joining. I appreciate that. We had a staff meeting earlier in the week and discussed some of that. And so she'd asked to join the session this evening. She knew I was going to meet with you and do a touch base meeting with the LAL students. And so she asked for some time. So I do want to kind of go back and hit on that just briefly, and then we'll talk a little bit about, see if you have questions on the interview assignment that you're currently working on, just where I can answer those questions for you and provide clarification. And then I don't want to keep you long for tonight. So she mentioned the lesson plans that you guys are going to have to do. And the other night when we met, I mentioned that you'll be doing three lesson plans that go along with the portfolio. You guys remember me talking a little bit about that. And so in our faculty meeting, we discovered that some of the instructors had a different lesson plan format that was significantly different than kind of what they're expecting for the PPAP. And so Dr. Brooks provided that. This 805 template was one of them that was different. And it's just one that had already been in the course shell. So I received the updated version, and I've already uploaded that under the special where it says SPED 805 resources in Blackboard. And I'll share my screen and kind of show it to you, but I have uploaded that. And then also I uploaded in the same tab, the rubric, the scoring rubric that goes with that. So I did it as a way to just kind of help you guys, so you would see kind of what they're going to be looking at. And we went ahead and switched that lesson plan template for you. So that way it's pretty much going to be consistent across all the courses that you're going to take to help prepare you for that exam. We just felt like that was going to be the right thing to do to make sure you guys were adequately prepared. Another thing that she mentioned is the 15-minute video that you guys are going to have to do for that PPAP. Both items that she mentioned, the lesson plans and the video, you guys are going to be doing in this class as well. So you're going to be getting practice right here this semester before you jump into that. preparing for that PPAP next semester. So some of the things she mentioned are embedded within this class to give you practice as you're approaching that. So I think the assignment for the portfolio to do the video is going to help you as you prepare for that PPAP. So the video that goes into our portfolio assessment is part of the final. The time limit on that is 12 to 15 minutes. So it correlates pretty much right on with what's going to be expected in that PPAP as well. So if you will bear with me, I'm going to share my screen quickly and get over into Blackboard so you can see where I have uploaded that. You can see here, I've already uploaded the rubric. It was already open, so I just went right to it. I did upload this for you to look at. So this is kind of the rubric I'll follow whenever that I grade those lesson plans. And so you can kind of see the categories and what it's going to look like. And it breaks it down on a 4, 3, 2, 1 scale as far as exceeds expectations, meets, partially meets, and does not meet expectations. And I'll have the lesson plan structure. The foundations will be a section in the writing mechanics. And then when you describe your learning environments and the knowledge of the students, you'll see that's a category. Then the lesson structure itself and the procedures. This section alone is worth quite a few points, and you'll see breaking it down step-by-step activities. Those are things you'll have to do in that when you do your PPAP, okay? So we really felt like this is going to better prepare you. And that's one reason I went ahead and changed this out and switched them after our meeting yesterday. You'll see engagement, opening dialogue, step-by-step activities, questions to ask your students, guided practice, lesson closure, follow-up activities, any informal, formal assessments that you might use, which you're going to get practice with that in this course this semester, and then strategies that you're going to implement to meet the students' behavioral needs or any needs that they have to sustain their student engagement. So I just kind of wanted to share that, and it's in Blackboard, and I will get to that where I can kind of show you. Let me share my screen again and get over in there quickly. Bear with me just a minute here, guys.
Quick question while you're
Yes,
doing
yes,
that.
ma'am. Go ahead. You bet.
So, like for our behavior class, we wrote a behavior lesson plan, and I had to write a reading one for the reading class.
Sure.
So we won't know what kind of lesson plan we have to write until next class or whenever.
You talking about for the PPAP?
Yeah.
From what I understand yesterday in our discussion, the professors that we had, you're going to be looking, it's going to be geared toward reading and math, unless that changes between now and then. That came up in our discussions yesterday. So that's what it's going to be focused on.
Okay.
So you've had some experience doing some behavioral plans, correct? In previous classes, I've taught some of those classes before. They had to write a behavioral intervention plan. And so like with 805, you're going to be writing some lesson plans basically after you collect the data from administering the informal assessment. You'll see where their strengths and weaknesses are, and you'll go in and develop a lesson plan based off the data that you collected. So other classes were behavioral plans. This one here in 805, you're literally going to create it after what you discover their weaknesses are after doing the assessments. So it's giving you practice with a little bit different angle on everything, a little bit different focus. So if you, where I uploaded them is you go to SPED 805 resource tab. I'm gonna click on it, and you'll see where all the different templates are. I went over that last week, and you'll see I changed the heading. It did say lesson plan template. Once I updated that earlier this afternoon, I put lesson plan template and rubric. you'll see the lesson plan and the rubric. I just showed you the rubric when I shared my screen a while ago. So I'm gonna pop up this lesson plan, let you kind of see it. This is kind of the format of it, the basic format. And after we get off here tonight, you might, like Dr. Brooks said, you might want to download some of these and just kind of pencil in some things as you go, as you progress toward the semester to kind of prepare you for the PPAC. But you'll see what the IEP goal would be, different standard, Common Core standards, write one objective, a little bit about the background, include what the teacher and the student should know prior to this lesson. So it's giving you some prompts here, and then here's where you're going to put in your information. Resource materials, technology.
I'm sorry,
Your
Dr.
screen is
Posey?
gray. We
Yeah.
can't see anything.
Oh, man, okay. Still can't see it? Okay, hang on just a minute. Thank you for letting me know. Bear with me.
I just, while you're doing that, I just had a question.
Okay, while I'm
regarding-
doing this, yeah.
Regarding the assessment, this test, is it something that we hand in? Like we prepare it and do it and hand it in somewhere, or are we doing it like from our memory at a test center? Like what is, like, how does this exam work?
From what I know on the PPAP, it's gonna be like at a test center. It's not gonna be something you just do and submit. Hang on just a minute here. Can everybody see my screen now?
So will it be based off of like a sample student that they give us then? And
I
then we
believe-
come up
yes.
with these things?
Exactly, yes. And when you get into the practice session, Dr. Brooks is gonna go into a lot of that. That's why those practice sessions were set up. And that's why she decided to go ahead and design one for this fall in advance. So you won't have so much during that practicum and then trying to do that as well to prepare. So she did that to kind of help you guys out and where you're at in the program. So it's really going to be your advantage if you utilize those designated times that she's offered to do it to help. So that'll take some off your plate in the spring when you're doing your practicum and trying to get ready as you finish up the program. So can everybody see the lesson plan now? Okay. A lot of it that's in this format here was on the basic template that I had originally posted in 805. It just has a totally different look to it. A lot of the basic same information. You'll see some key vocabulary. This is where you would put it in that you feel like you need to add into that lesson plan. Any resources, materials, or technology. So as you're designing your lesson plan, you would list any technology you want to implement, any manipulatives that you feel like would be needed to teach that lesson to enhance your instruction. And this is where the section on your evidence-based instructional strategy. So your engagement opening to the lesson, different activities and procedures. So this is where you're going to list your step-by-step. This is where some of your details come from that Dr. Brooks explained, and just getting basic practice at this, so you'll kind of be used to it and into the habit. So when you get into that test, it won't be quite as overwhelming. Any guided practice. And in the closure section, this is where you're just going to kind of recap what you taught. And then any follow-ups, any activities, review that you want to go back and do to kind of build upon the lesson. And then you're going to get into your assessment section. So you would want to include and put in some informal assessments. Again, those are real quick snapshot views. We talked a little bit about that. I gave you some ideas the other night, just some quick, you can do exit tickets, short answer, whatever it may be. And it usually is something that just takes 1 to 2 minutes, sometimes not even that long. Formal assessments, a little bit, as it mentions, a little bit more formalized. Could be chapter unit test, quizzes, things like that, that take a little bit more time. Then you're going to get into the classroom management side, describing strategies that you're going to implement to meet student behavioral needs if they're experiencing some behavioral issues in class. And then differentiation amongst accommodations, modifications. Okay, whether you need to go back and reteach or any enrichment, this is where you want to put in your information here. Any accommodations, modifications. And if you have to make any adjustments for diverse learners, culturally diverse or linguistically diverse students. So, and then any additional information that you feel like is necessary, any area of the lesson or component that was not covered that you feel might be important to include in the description of the lesson plan. So this format is a lot more formalized than the basic template that was originally in the 805 shell, but this is one that's going to be used consistently now throughout all the different courses when you have to do lesson plans. So that's why we went ahead and uploaded it. Anybody have any questions over that basic template? Again, I would encourage you maybe to go ahead and download this, put it on your desktop, or if you want to print off a few hard copies. That way you can kind of go through and start penciling in different things. And
So
getting-
this,
Yes.
this template is modeled after what we would be seeing on this assessment.
It's gonna
is
be
that
very
right?
similar. That's right. That's why they asked us to go ahead and use this template. That way it's consistent across all the courses offered in this
And then
program.
did you say that we'll be required to write a regular ed education plan for reading and math? Is that right?
From my understanding, it's going to be centered around reading and math as your content area.
In regular ed though, or in
Yes.
special? Okay,
Regular ed,
so
yes.
would all these accommodations that are on this lesson plan be needed in a regular education plan? Like, are they
Okay.
the same?
You can go in and actually make some modifications and adaptations in a regular classroom for a
Right,
student that you are suspecting may qualify for services, but so you want to go in and make a few of those. A teacher can go in and do that to see how it affects the student's performance in the classroom before you even get to the testing phase to see if they even qualify. I see Janelle sitting there looking like, what's he talking about? Are you confused?
Well, I don't understand. So like, cause writing a SPED lesson plan, like I would use, like we, in special education, we use, like at least in my school or district, we use the same curriculum. So my special education lesson plans are gonna look the same. I have a evidence-based instruction and it's very scripted and it has modifications, as opposed to if we're just gonna get this case study and I'm supposed to come up with a gen ed lesson plan. We haven't had any instruction on how to write it. And not like I don't know, I guess.
Well, I tell you what I'll do to make sure and clarify, and if I need to do this, I will. I'll do a complete session on it. But let me clarify that with Dr. Brooks to make sure I didn't misunderstand anything from our meeting yesterday. And then what I can do a whole Zoom session and come back and say, all right, here's exactly what you're going to have to do. It is indeed going to be for regular ed off of a case study, or no, it's not. This is indeed what you're going to be presented, and here's what's going to be expected.
Because I mean, I guess I just assume that we're going to get a case study of a student who probably has a reading or math deficit, and we're going to have to make a plan
Yeah.
that's going to be, that we're going to need to put like accommodations and stuff in, just like
Okay.
we would. I don't know. I guess I don't know.
Well, and I will find out and clarify that to make sure that I did not completely misunderstand from our meeting yesterday and the purpose of us switching over to this. So, and I will find out, and then I will shoot you guys an email, group email out,
Okay.
just to make sure I didn't totally confuse you. And I may have. I could just see your body language and your facial expression like, what is he talking about?
So for this course,
For this course,
for
For-
this
for
course, the lesson
805.
plans we have to write, yes, for 805.
Yep.
The lesson plans we have to write are going to be basically for, we're gonna do
For
these
the
assessments
students
and
you're
then,
working on.
and it's gonna be what our specially designed instruction for their weaknesses,
That's right.
not our, like, I have a couple of resource math classes that I teach.
Mhm.
It's not gonna be those lesson plans. It's gonna be an individual student specially designed instruction lesson plan.
That is exactly correct.
Okay.
You are right, 100%. For 805, that is exactly what we're going to be doing. It's a customized lesson plan for that student, or if you're working with more than one, you're going to write a customized lesson plan for those students for whatever assessment they do. So I mentioned to you, ideally, if you can, it's really more ideal if you can use one student, but due to COVID and different things, we've been flexible with that. And if you have to use more than one, that's fine. But so if you use student A for an informal, you would write a lesson plan for student A. And then if you use student B for the norm reference and CDM, it's going to be the lesson plans for student B. Okay, does that make sense, Kate?
Yes, it does. I'm just trying to kind of wrap my head around it all because, okay, I've got my student identified and
Okay,
I should be able to use the same student all the way through the semester. And his, his primary identification is LD for primarily reading.
okay,
So, but I have to come up with 3 lesson plans, right?
right, because you're given 3 different assessments.
Okay. So based on each assessment, even though they might all be 3 reading lesson plans, they'll be focusing on
The
different
weaknesses identified.
weaknesses.
Exactly,
Okay,
that's correct.
okay.
You're exactly right. Yep. Because more, I will pretty much guarantee you for sure, you will see something probably completely different pop up when the norm reference is given, whichever norm reference tool that you administer. It's going, because it's more in depth. It's going to
Do
show a lot
you,
more details.
and you don't care which norm reference tool we use?
No, I don't,
Because,
as long as it
and
qualifies as norm reference.
you said the map test is a norm reference tool,
That,
right?
you're right, that's
Because that's
correct.
what I'll be, I will be administering those, or they will be. Okay, so that being a computer-based test,
Mhm.
basically, if it's administered in his English class,
Right,
can
you
I use those results even though I did not personally administer it to him?
you can on that one for the map.
Okay.
Because again, depending on how your district's set up, obviously an English teacher, whoever designee is going to administer that. Just like no different than if you were in a district and you were partnering with a school psychometrist or school psych, they're the ones that's actually going to be the evaluator. You would be in there basically to observe because you're not licensed to give it. Does that make sense? So you would be doing observation, and then that school psych or psychometrist would provide you the comprehensive report.
Makes sense.
Okay. The map test, you guys have a designated individual in the district, and they've had to do some, probably a little in-service training on the map test administration. And then they administer that in a setting, whether it's a computer lab or in their English classroom with Chromebooks, since it's online. And then the reports are generated, and then they can get you a copy of that, go over some of the reports and details into that, because like I said, most of the time there is some in-service training that goes with that to do the map on how to read and interpret that data. Does that make sense, Kate?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Basically, in our, at least in the high school, all of the English teachers are certified to give the English map.
Yeah.
All the math teachers are certified to give the math map,
Yeah,
so forth and so on. So, yeah.
exactly. So they've had training on how to go in there and interpret the results for their content subject area.
Mhm.
Yep. so they can pull the data and provide that to you and go over and review it with you. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on the lesson plan and regarding how it applies to our class right now for 805? Any
Just
questions?
basically, we want to pick a student that we can stay with the whole time.
It's
to follow.
really a lot more, it's more ideal if you can, because you get a lot more consistency and you can see and you have that relationship built with that student. But if you can't, it's not a deal breaker. You can still make this work.
I'm kind of torn between, I don't know how to say this without saying like, I'm not trying to take a shortcut, but I have a student I really want to help, but he's like, has no recall at all. And so my data is basically, there's not a lot of data. Versus a student who has some data to work on and maybe I can get somewhere. But I mean, I know I did, and I'm not, please don't think I don't want to work with the child because I'm looking
No.
forward to it. But I've worked with him for 3 weeks, for instance, and he recalls 3 letters. So I guess 1 or 2 letters is an increase, but is it better to try and use a student like that or someone who I guess might have a little more, I don't know how much we're going to do down the road.
Now you can work with that student, that's fine. And it's going to give you a lot of ideas. Have they actually already been tested to see if they qualify for services?
Oh yeah, they're already
Okay,
qualified.
yeah. So you're going to see I'm guessing by what you're explaining that student's obviously extremely low.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's a bright kid. He's just a kindergartner,
Mhm.
but very talkative and can recall. If I give him a sound of a letter, he can identify more letters that way but he can't recognize. I mean, I've worked with just 8 letters of the alphabet, and after 3 weeks, he recognizes 3 if I say, what's this letter? What's that letter?
So he's been identified. What's his category, if you don't mind me asking?
I believe I don't have it in front of me, and I'm sorry, I'm still getting some of these kindergartners confused, but I think it's just LD.
Already at kindergarten.
And it may, and I don't know if they designate a lot of those,
Mm-mm.
but because his is so much severe.
If it should be DD, I mean, most commonly kinder's DD.
Exactly.
Are
Most
they
of the
DD?
time, if they're younger, it's going to be DD, because really, to be honest with you, going in, I wouldn't sit down and try to evaluate a student that young, because your data is going to be skewed because they don't have a lot of the basic fundamental skills. Therefore, when you get to the achievement side, like if I go in with the WJ4 and that's going to be my evaluation tool, if I'm using the achievement, they're not going to have a lot of basic skill sets.
Yeah, that's why I was
on
kind
there,
of
so.
wondering, what, if I should maybe go with one of my 3rd graders.
Michelle.
Yeah, under this instance, I would advise you to do that. I really think it's going to be a better deal for you. Just don't see a lot of them categorized that young with that category. Most of them that young are DD.
Yeah.
Michelle.
Yes.
I'm in the same district. I'm with the same district with Michelle. And,
Okay.
And I'm also dealing with, my caseload is all kindergarten 1st grade, except for 1 2nd grader this year. Unless they are autistic, everyone coming out of preschool is developmental.
Yeah.
Okay. I probably just haven't confused with one of my 3rd graders. They're in the middle of shuffling our caseload, so
And
I've been a little flustered.
even as Jim said, that young, if they're categorized with autism, a lot of times you have the medical side to go with that. They've had that, then with some basic screeners that we've done on our side, and you basically compile the data and you go with that to get that autism categorization at that young of an age. But as far as me coming in or anyone else to sit down and try to do a full evaluation on a student that young, I mean, it's just, the results just aren't gonna be valid at all. I mean,
I have a question. So you're
Yeah.
saying that if you have a student that is young and has DD, do not use them for these assessments?
well, I'm not necessarily saying that, but under her circumstances with the student being as low as he is, I would not think you're gonna get a lot of good data off of them.
Okay, so I have a question. I
Okay.
work in a preschool. There is no kid over the age of 5. And the majority of my students, okay, well, all of my students are DD, and
Yeah.
the majority of them are communication DD.
Okay.
So is it still possible for me to just use one to do these?
You can, yeah. I mean, it's possible.
Okay, just get creative.
Yes.
Okay,
the
so much.
the one challenge though for you, and if you want to get into a deal where you got 2 students and you're wanting to use maybe the older one for the norm of reference part of it, but you're interested in working with this little fella here in your setting, and you want to use the informal on them and the CBM, use those 2 just to get practice and have a little difference there, and then maybe use an older student on the norm reference to get the feel of that and see what kind of data you can do that. I mean, that's permissible to do that in this course.
Okay.
I have a
So,
question.
yes,
Should we choose a child who is going to be reassessed this semester or
you
not?
can. I've had them do that in previous semesters, previous courses.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. So
I have a question
so do
about
you,
the
yeah, hang on just a
interview.
second, Janelle, if you don't mind. Hang on just 1 second. So I'm gonna go back and kind of expand on that question. You could do that, and it would give you maybe some good data, just doing some informals and some other assessments leading up to that reevaluation, and then the students reevaluated. And then you have a lot more data to bring to the table, and you can kind of do some cross-referencing just to see if the assessments that you administered, if you see some correlation between what pops up on the reeval and some of the areas that maybe identifies.
So we're doing the fast bridge. So I was going to kind of associate what I found with the fast bridge as
Yeah.
well. Would that work even if my student
Sure.
isn't getting reassessed?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I think Janelle, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just kind of
No.
wanted to answer that question.
No, yeah, it's okay. I have a question about the interview project for the interview report.
Okay, yeah.
So on the syllabus, it says it's due week 4, would it be Sunday, September 19th?
I believe so. I'd have to go back and look
Okay.
here really quick.
Now-
Go ahead.
There's no link to submit it. And it doesn't show up on, like, when you look at my grades, like, it'll have all of our assignments listed. It's not there. But the peer review is, which I'm assuming we have to complete a peer review because this
That's
is
correct. Yeah,
a
you
group.
do, each one of them. Yeah.
And that is due on September 12th, which is the week before the interview report is due. Is that?
Okay, let me go in and look at it, and I'll just push out a group email. Make sure I don't know why it didn't populate on the gradebook side. It should have when we enter our assignments, it should populate on the gradebook side in Blackboard. So, but I will check on that for you, and I can push out a group email and let you know, hey, it's there, it's good to go, and this is the date.
And then about the groups, so I know we signed up for groups, and I don't know if I missed our first Zoom. In my particular group, there's 6 of us. Is that, I've never worked with any more than 4, so is that a lot? Is that normal?
That's quite a few. Normally we try to limit that at 4, but I think the group of 6 was ambitious and eager and went ahead and created that group and started before I had the groups created that night.
Okay.
My group showed interview group 1, I think, interview group 2, 3, 4, and then they somehow created that, and people just started enrolling in it. And my groups up above shows the minimum of 4. So, but you guys have already signed up, just move on.
Okay.
Sorry, my group has just me in it. There's nobody else in my group. And I don't know how to like leave it and join a different group or what to do about that.
So
What group are you in?
you email me? Were you one that emailed and I responded?
I have not emailed yet. I was going to
Okay.
email today.
So
I'm in group 1 in VD.
Okay, so I had a couple that emailed me and then shortly thereafter, I went on and looked and there was like a couple members in there with them. I mean, emailed them back. So from the time they emailed me till the time I responded, there'd been some other people join their groups. So we got that kind of clarified and they're moving forward. So yeah, I wished I would have known in advance. I could have reached out and we could have got you switched over. So let's see, you're in BD. I'm gonna write your name down. So I'll go in there and look, Molly, and after we get off the Zoom, I'll look and then I'm gonna
Okay.
email you and tell you what we need to do, okay?
All right, thanks.
I'll look, see our group size. Any other questions?
And then just to clarify, so on the rubric, it's a word, maybe I'm just not understanding the wording. So my group has 4 people. So do all 4 of us need to interview a person or are the 4 of us interviewing one person?
Nope, each one of you have to select someone in your district to interview.
So we're combining 4 separate interviews.
That's exactly
Okay,
right.
thank you.
You're gonna condense it down and take all your information, condense it down into that report. Yep. So each one of you have an interview to conduct with the list of questions that I went over last week. I think there's like 10 guiding questions on there, if I remember right, 10 or 12. And then you'll record your answers and then you'll bring them back to your group. And I'd really recommended that you guys create a group like a Google Doc where you can go in there and start putting your information in and even reaching out to each other, maybe doing a video conference like this on Zoom or Google Meets. Or it's one of the easiest ways to do it really and communicate with each other, especially being an online class and being perhaps some of you in different states.
So, okay, because on the rubric, it's only supposed to be like 3 to 5 pages, but if
That's
there's
right.
6 of us in a group, that's 6 different interviews
That's
that we
right.
have to combine.
Yeah, you're right. And it's been done.
Okay.
It's been done. Yeah, you just literally you're condensing it down into those paragraphs. You don't have to get big. You're just condensing it down. You know, Janelle interviewed a school psych that had 24 years experience. In the introduction, Kate interviewed special ed director that had 13 years experience. And you're just giving that brief snapshot is what you're doing. But yeah, it's been done multiple semesters. So yeah. Condensed down. Molly, do you have a question? Additional? No? Kate, what about you?
I have a question.
Okay.
Have you've gone through and identified who asks the questions already?
No, I
Actually,
can see your
okay.
facial expressions. So.
It's more of a comment. In the lesson, the learning modules, in module 1, week 2, the link for the assessing ELLs for special education, 5 pitfalls to avoid. When I click on that, it goes to a video by study.com, and you can watch about the first maybe third of the video, and then it stops and says you got to join study.com before you can finish the video.
Okay.
And they want money. And so now that I've done that once, I can't even go back and review the first bit of it. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Okay.
I don't know if
that money goes to your instructor.
Oh, okay. I'll figure out how to direct it there.
Okay, I'll go in there after we get off Zoom and look at that link for you. Any other questions? I could clarify. Janelle?
Just group one, please check your email. That's it.
It can be, you can what that means. You can condense
Okay,
it down. I've
that's
had some
fine.
large groups, you know, you really can. You think, oh my gosh, how are we gonna do this? But you can.
I did. I'll take ownership for that group one, Janelle, because I got in it the first day and figured out, oh, I can create group. I guess
Yeah,
we're
I
create
knew
our own.
somebody had. Is it? You're
Next thing I
responsible. I
know,
don't.
there's 6 people, and I was like, that's more than I thought possible.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's all right, though. We'll get it done, Janelle. We got this.
Yes.
You can do it really on that. I'm just making sure you covered all the information on the rubric. Where we're really going to get in depth and things on grading and all that's when you do your individual reports. Okay. And it's the only group assignment for this whole course. Yeah, it's only one. The rest of it's on you as individuals. So, okay. So really on the group project, because sometimes it can pose a challenge. Sometimes, you know, you get into groups and you may have one in a group that is just really difficult to get a hold of, or maybe they're not really contributing maybe as much as they should. So, I mean, I understand that and I take that in consideration. So try to be flexible and understanding when we go in and score that. Any other questions, Michelle?
Is this due next week?
No, it's going to be on the 19th.
Oh, the 19th. I was
Yeah,
thinking the
no.
9th in my head.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay, so 2 more weeks. Good.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, you got some time. So I'll make sure that rubric date gets switched over and matches the other. So I appreciate you guys bringing that to my attention. When you go in and you're looking at your own work, you'll find that when you're writing papers too, when you're looking at your own stuff for so long, you don't see little things. That's right under your nose. And I'm the world's worst about that. So thanks for letting me know and bringing that to my attention. Any other questions I could answer for you, clarify? I will get some answers for you on the PPAP to kind of clarify that for you guys. So when you get to that point regarding the case study, the scenario, so you have some clarity on that in advance. I would encourage you also, guys, please write down those dates. I strongly encourage you to participate. That we went back and looked at the data on that, and the ones that did not pass, that were not successful, were the ones, the students that did not participate in any type of practice sessions that were offered for that. So.
A hypothetical question.
Okay.
Say we do the test sessions right, and we still don't do very well on the PPAT. Do we just retake that, and then if we pass, we're good to teach, or how does that work? Do we have to retake the whole practicum?
No, I don't.
Is it like a PLT where you have to just take it till you pass?
I think it's more like that. You won't have to really take your practicum over again, because that's kind of like a course. But I will pose that question to Dr. Brooks as well to get some clarification on that, to see what they had done for those students that didn't pass it, to see kind of what the outcome of that was. And
I'm
then
almost
when
wondering if that portfolio is the better option instead of having to do the PPAP.
now,
Same.
and I'm glad you mentioned the portfolio. I had a note here. One thing that's also been updated in Blackboard that was not on there last week, they had not put it over into the instructor course shell, was the comprehensive folder, or I'm sorry, the comprehensive portfolio folder. And that is a new requirement that went into effect back in the summer for students entering the program. And so it's on Blackboard and it's in there now. You'll see it'll say comprehensive portfolio, and it's a folder. And when you open it up, it's going to kind of explain. So basically that is And I would strongly encourage you along the way to go ahead and start uploading different artifacts and documents in there. So that way it's there and it will follow you. And that way you're putting that information in advance as you're gathering artifacts, because that's going to be kind of a requirement for the program.
It's not a requirement for us. Dr. Brooks made that clear to
Oh, on
me.
the LAL, it's not going to be for you LAL?
Because
for our
we were in the
class.
program
Okay.
already. We're grandfathered in.
No, yeah, so it's for the ones coming in the summer. The ones that started back in the summer, you already in. So, but I wanted to make sure you guys saw that it was on there. If it stuck out to you and you're like, oh, what's this? I didn't understand. Or if you click on it accidentally, thinking you were going in to create the portfolio for this class, and that's a different tab. It's a different folder. Okay, I showed you last week where to go in and create the portfolio for this. But since I showed you that, they downloaded that into all the core shells. So don't get those two confused. Saw Jim wiping his forehead. He already broke out in a sweat.
No, wait, we have a portfolio for this class.
Yep, I went over that night one. It's the final. It's the final for
Okay.
this class. It's not like the graduate portfolio that's due for the ones that started the program back in the summer moving forward. That's required for them. It has the 3 lesson plans and the 15-minute mock IEP video. That's what it consists of. And you're going to create an introduction and a conclusion section. So that's it. That's the portfolio for this class 805.
Yeah, we've just been bouncing back and forth all night. So
just all over the place.
I will say also, just as general information, if you go to the ETS website and Google and search for the PPAT, there's a lot of information on the ETS website about the PPAT.
Okay, something you guys might want to do.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah. Any other questions before I let you guys go? I don't want to confuse you anymore.
I sent the website link to everyone in the chat. So if you go in the chat and scroll up, it's the
Okay.
ETS website. So you
Thank
guys
you.
can go there.
Thank you for doing that, Katrina. Help them out.
Thank you, Kate. Katrina, I'm sorry. I was already looking at that.
Yeah, you guys might want to copy that out of there and put it somewhere. So thank you both for bringing that information out. Anything else before we go? Any questions? No? You just totally confused now, right? Katrina's like, yeah.
Totally scared.
No, hey, you'll be fine. It's just 1 week at a time. You're getting toward the end, and it's real easy to look toward the end of the semester and think, oh my gosh, I've got all this stuff. You just take it 1 week at a time. 1 week at a time. Just be thankful it's not during the summer doing this, because it goes fast. I mean, literally, you're overlapping assignments, activities, trying to keep up. So it gets real confusing. It really does. So you have a longer amount. You have longer amounts of times in the regular semester. So, but just take it 1 week at a time. You'll make it. You guys are getting close. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. So just got to hang tough, and we're gonna get to it. We're gonna make sure you get to it.
And real quick, as we get closer to like each assessment, you'll go over like more in depth about
definitely
the different assignments, right? Like right now I can just focus on the interview report.
No.
And
like
okay.
like these weeklies, like in between the interview and all that, this is a lot of this on the weekly. In between will be the touch base, but once we get right up there and we're getting ready to get into the formal, I will go over that in depth with you. We'll spend time discussing and all that, but I don't want to do that in between and create a lot more confusion or even bring on frustration for you thinking, oh my gosh, this guy's just moving ahead. He's throwing all this stuff on us. I don't want to do that. The purpose for these in-betweens for section C, D, and E for the LALs is just availability and to provide some extra support, to answer questions, provide any guidance I can to try to help make sure you guys are successful and staying on the right track. So that's why the purpose of the weeklies are for those three sections. So in between, we'll do some of this, and then right before we kick off the informal that week before, I'll go over it. I'll have PowerPoint I'll share with you. I'll go over it in detail. We'll talk about different assessments that are informal, to throw a lot of ideas out there, to give you guys some ideas to help you out. And then once you kind of start, we'll have the weekly follow-ups, answer questions, give you guidance. And so that's kind of the game plan. I just don't want to keep throwing a bunch of stuff on you every week. That sound good?
Okay,
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? I know you guys probably have a lot going on, and I don't want to just keep you for the sake of keeping you. I want to value your time. And so I have us down again next Thursday night, 6:30. We might only end up being on here 30 minutes. We might be on an hour. Depends on how many questions and things you guys have, how much help you may need, and we'll take as long as you need. Okay.
Dr. Posey, one last, if everybody else, this isn't, they don't have to stick around if they don't want, but
yeah, okay.
I know I should know this answer, but I just want to verify, like I do a past assessment, PAST with my kids. Would that be considered a formal?
Yes.
Okay, because
Yes, it
anything
will.
that's consistent, that's kind of quiz-like is a formal assessment, right?
There you go.
Okay.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Okay, anything else? I will reach out to Dr. Brooks, and it may be tomorrow before I send that to you by the time I connect with her and get it, but I will follow up and make sure I clarify that for you guys and hopefully clear up any confusion I may have caused for you. So, okay. Anything comes up, anything in between, just email me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.